So now, ladies and gentlemen, it is track time. Are you ready for track time?
Hello, welcome to Tragtime
Thank you very kind.
Episode 5, is it?
With a bit of a Latin flavour.
The 5th.
Yeah, it's the Cuba special.
Yeah.
Reason being, 2 of our crew were over in Cuba over Christmas.
We were.
Do you guys have a good time?
Yeah, it's
Overall?
amazing. Cuba is unbelievable.
I love it there, yeah, absolutely.
How was spending Christmas there? Was it good?
Well, I had the
interesting.
worst Christmas dinner of my life.
What did you have?
I think I had like boiled slices of beef.
Delicious.
No.
Yeah.
That must have cost
Like,
thousands
but
of pounds.
Not just beef, like gone off rotten beef.
I had chicken
Amazing.
and cheese in a batter and it was rock solid.
I actually read that the
beat it.
chicken is dodgier than the beef, but to
Oh,
get
God.
into this, you guys, I was talking to you earlier on, and I didn't know that there was such a big problem with getting meat in Cuba, especially beef.
Yeah.
That it's a massive, massive problem, which is strange because the country, well, for one thing, actually, back in I think in the 70s and 80s, the Soviets gave them hang on, here we go. In 1959, before Castro's revolution, there were more cattle than people.
Really?
There were over 6 million cattle in the country, and then according to the revolutionaries, the reason why they lost all their cows is because they just ate them all.
Yeah.
And didn't
Really?
They
breed
couldn't
them.
get outside
They just
food,
got
so
through
they had
all
to.
they got through all the cattle.
Wow.
But yeah, I didn't know it was such a big deal.
Yeah, they've got mad laws protecting the cows as well.
The government owns the cows. That's
Yeah,
right.
you
They
can have a
do.
cow and you can milk it
Yeah.
and have all the milk you want, but when the cow dies, you have to ring the state and tell them the cow's died and they come and pick up the cow and take it away.
And if you've taken any of the meat off that cow before they take it
Well,
away,
I read as well that
you're in
it's
big
quite
trouble.
common for people to push cows into roads and motorways.
So it looks like they died of natural
So it
causes.
dies accidentally, because if
maybe
that
so.
happens, you're allowed to keep the meat.
no,
No,
you're
you're
not.
still not
There's
allowed.
no way you're allowed to keep that meat.
You have to
If
give
it
away.
died of
No.
accidental
If
causes?
you're caught
still have
taking
to ring the
any
state.
meat off that cow, you could go to jail for 30 years.
Because I did actually read, now this might have been a dubious article, but they said that some Cubans would rather commit suicide than face a prison sentence if they were caught cooking illegal beef.
Yeah, it's that. So if you kill a Cuban, you might get 7 to 10 years.
Yeah.
If you kill a cow, 20 to 30 years.
Gee,
And I
that's
think there's
absolutely
something
insane.
weird, like if you kill a tourist, because we're just as valuable as the cows,
Yeah.
you get 20 to 30 years. But I
Delicious
think
meat.
overall, the cows are the most valuable thing.
Yeah.
So getting beef there isn't easy. It's really rare. So it was
Very
gas.
strange.
We were in one of these 5-star resort things where they actually, I think they had beef, did they?
And
Apparently a lot of it's
we
Canadian
went to
and
a
American.
restaurant that had the beef, and then we had steaks, and then afterwards we realised, heard all the stuff about the cows, and then very troubled by eating big massive steaks in front of all the Cuban people, and they
Yeah.
can't
Conan,
get
can
it.
I ask you, because you said that people are allowed to milk the cows. I was reading, I wish I could remember the site it was from. But this was legitimate. It was actually, it was a report in Vice where a woman went undercover to find out where they get their meat from. And one of the things that a lot of the people she found were complaining about is they can't get milk for their kids. So are you sure they're allowed to milk the cows? Or
No, we
or is
couldn't
it
get
very
milk.
rare to own a cow?
Milk is hard. Even as a tourist, we couldn't get milk. They've that UHT stuff.
There's a lot of dry, the powdered
Yeah.
milk.
So is it just like if you were lucky enough to own a cow or something, or if
Yeah.
you were given the job of owning a cow, then you can have milk. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
if
can't
you're
buy it
a
anywhere, though.
Producer, you can buy milk. You can, yeah. The girl we interviewed, Sandra, said you can get liquid milk. You can get stuff. You can get everything. If you have enough money.
Okay.
It's like everything is available for people with money.
Yeah.
It's just not for normal people who don't have the money, and they get like 20 euros equivalent a month.
A month.
So to buy a steak of beef for 10 euros is going to be impossible. For
And I
them,
heard it's
really.
something like
have to-
$28 a pound.
Well, it was 26
get
euro
beef.
for a bit of steak in the restaurant, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
No, it was like
remember.
16. It was 16 or something.
Depends what
for the
cut you
steak.
get, I guess.
But it's still it's more expensive than anything else on the menus for sure by a mile.
So in the hotel, the staff that all work there, they're making 20 quid a month, and
Yeah.
if you get to know them, they'd be like, please sneak me out some beef from the restaurant.
Yeah.
It's like the one thing they really want.
It was interesting. This Vice article I was reading. The woman went to like one of the only burger places you can go to. It had a weird name. It was like 5YR or something like that. But when she was talking to the guys that run it, they were super sketchy, super secretive. They wouldn't tell her where they got the meat from, and more than likely it's not going to be.
There's a black market for it for
beef,
sure.
but they think it's probably not beef. They also get these weird.
Well, I got burgers there, and they were pork burgers.
Pork is what they sold a lot of, actually.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
is pork. It's all
Yeah.
pulled pork,
Yeah.
strips, or like dried sliced pork.
Yeah.
Everything. They're pretty creative with it.
And they also apparently get these soy. It's like mechanically reclaimed meat in these tubes of chicken that
really?
that soy is added to kind of disguise the disgusting flavor.
You see, it's difficult because we went
It's
into.
basically, by the way, mechanically reclaimed meat is stuff that you normally
It's
would give-
spun off the
usually give to
bone, isn't
dogs,
it? It's
yeah.
spun off the bone to
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last.
They
vestiges
they
of-
actually hose it off, is what I see.
Yeah,
but
yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. It's
Horrible
also in your
stuff.
chicken nuggets. if you
Chicken
go to
nuggets,
McDonald's.
yeah.
Lovely.
But we went to I think one proper supermarket, and it was pretty bare shelves. There's
Yeah.
very little kind of stuff. And then
Was
we
that a touristy
Yeah.
supermarket or?
No,
a
it wasn't. It
locals?
was like a normal supermarket. Remember, we
It
had to
was
drop the
in-
bag in.
But it was in Miramar, which is where Raoul lives. So it was in a really upmarket area where all the embassies are. There's a North
Okay, so
Korean
it's an
embassy
upmarket
there.
area.
Market area,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It was a supermarket, but it didn't have much stuff in it at all. Like,
Yeah.
and then there was a couple of street markets, and there was people queuing up. I think you get rations from there though. That was more so,
Bodegas.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
such a mad situation. I was so surprised by that because apparently, as well, in the 70s and the 80s, the Soviets gave them these. Did I say this earlier on?
No.
Holstein cows.
No.
But the cows need grain to eat these particular types of cows, and they couldn't survive in the Cuban grass. So when the USSR collapsed in '91, there were literally tens of thousands of cattle dead in the fields in Cuba.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Because they couldn't get them this
they
grain.
didn't have the grain. Yeah. And the cows couldn't survive off the Cuban grass.
I have to say, when I got home, the first thing I did was go into Tesco and almost cry. I was just like,
Really?
this is amazing.
No
Yeah,
way,
I just
wow.
got like potatoes, beans and sausages, and was like, that's all I wanted to do was just stay home and eat them.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't been to a shop in
Again,
so
though,
long.
well, this Vice article was saying the woman went to a market and she said there were tons of fruit and vegetables,
Oh yeah, loads of that on the
but
stalls around the
but
place.
apparently just Cubans just aren't into fruit and vegetables.
They've a lot of heart disease. Apparently, we met some doctors, and their diet's pretty bad, and they have
Yeah.
a lot of heart disease and stuff like that.
Diabetes is a big thing.
Diabetes, yeah. So there is fruit and stuff available, but obviously the diet in general isn't great.
Yeah, that's what I read. They're just not really into that stuff.
I went to a market and it was hilarious. It was like a dance hall club. It was bizarre. It was like two
Really?
massive speakers, lads with their tops off, and I had
Yeah.
to like twerk for a bit of watermelon.
And
it was like- It was just mental. It was like a dance club.
You had to twerk,
Yeah, they were like,
Oh.
I'll play you some footage if you like later.
right? That's mad. I heard as well back in the 90s was a particularly rough era there because
90s, yeah.
people were almost starving. You know, they had
Yeah.
to they were advised by the government to grill like grapefruit rinds and eat it as a steak.
We met a guy who told us about the cats in Cuba are
Yeah.
very sketchy about people because in the 90s
Yeah.
there was a food shortage and there was a kind of close to a famine, and a lot of
Gee.
people ate a lot of cats.
Wow.
And now the cats remember. So they
Yeah.
said like around tourists cats are different. Because around normal Cubans, the cats are sketchy.
No
They
way.
remember,
Wow.
even maybe another generation of cats.
Yeah,
they still
yeah.
remember that it's like, at any stage.
That
they
was
could be.
one
What about
weird
dogs? Did they eat
thing-
dogs?
Yeah, one weird thing.
There was dogs, yeah.
Not that
But
many,
was
though.
there a thing known that they used to eat dogs? Or
No, we just said the cats. I don't know, maybe.
We heard a weird rumour about the dogs. I don't know if I believe.
Well, I didn't believe that.
Oh, come on.
Okay, he said that a truck goes around every week or month
Yep.
around Havana, rounds up all the stray dogs,
Yep.
and feeds them to the lions in the zoo.
Right.
I don't know if
I don't know
it's
what to
true
make
or
of
not.
that.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it, to be honest. It
They have a
sounds
great
like
zoo
There's
there.
a zoo.
But it's not like a cage zoo. Like everything, it's like Photo Island or something. Everything's,
It's like what?
Photo in Cork, where all the animals just roam free.
Oh, okay.
Yes, they're not in
It's like a
cages.
safari park.
Yeah, safari park, and apparently they just let the dogs
Did
loose.
you guys go in?
We didn't know. It's the thing. There's so much to do, so much to see.
Yeah.
But back to the 90s, that was interesting. I heard something mental about the 90s. So, do you remember the whole Castro said socialism or death? You kind of hear that and you see
Yeah.
it written around the place. So there was this crew of like rockers in the 90s, and they would like go up to the tops of their apartment blocks and with their radios and try to get all the music from America because they weren't allowed to have it.
Yep.
And they would listen to rock music, which they weren't allowed to listen to.
Right.
And there became obviously the punks of Cuba in the 90s, 91.
What were they called?
They were called the Freakies.
Los Freakies?
Los Freakies, yeah.
Okay.
It was illegal for them to be punk rockers, really.
Yeah.
And one of them was really famous. He used to wear an American headband. I think his name was Papa. And he, would play rock music and
He's
try
like
to start
famous in the
bands.
scene.
He became famous really weirdly for a really strange reason.
Okay.
So
Totally intrigued.
every time they were walking the streets with their bandanas and their long hair and their cut off shorts and their rock music, the police would come and beat them up.
What kind of music is this, by the way?
Like Led Zeppelin, you know, like all that sort of rock music.
This is the 90s.
Like 1990. Yeah.
I'm thinking like Bon
No.
Jovi.
Probably. Whatever
The
was
90s was grunge and Nirvana and stuff.
Nirvana,
It was
definitely. They had
70s and
Nirvana,
80s was
Okay.
Nirvana
Zeppelin.
t-shirts. Anything that was coming from the radio waves in,
Gotcha.
in
Yeah,
Florida. So then, I guess the Soviet Union collapsed.
Yeah.
The crisis happened. People were eating cats or whatever.
Yeah.
And the rockers were getting a terrible time. Were getting beat for being rockers. So, he decided. So then Castro said it's either socialism or death because there was a big uprising down at the Malecon.
Socialismo
And
o muerte.
one of the guys.
What's the Malecon?
Malecon is the big sort of like.
The river.
Oh,
A
yeah. It's
sandy
like a
mount.
seafront boulevard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
seafront
meets the-
boulevard.
meets the
So there's
ocean.
there's no protests ever in Cuba, which is weird, but this is one of the only protests that was happening because people were starving.
Yeah.
And he said, look, it's socialism or death. And this guy, Papa, sort of said, right, I choose death. Not like in front of a crowd. This is just among his punk friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he was at a punk festival. And, another part of the story was a lot of people had come back from Angola at the time and had brought back AIDS.
Okay.
So he got a syringe. He got a friend with AIDS. He got his blood. He got the syringe full of AIDS. And he said, I choose death. And he injected himself
Wow.
and gave himself AIDS.
Protest.
And it started this massive movement where like 200 people copied him.
Oh,
And it became
no.
this weird thing that if you wanted to be a real rocker,
Oh, no.
you kind of had to choose death. And
Wow.
it was really weird.
Because in the last 10 years, their rate of AIDS, like the amount of people that have it, has doubled.
Well, there never was
Really?
AIDS before Castro
That's
sent
in the
everyone
last 10 years now.
to Angola.
Yeah.
And then they brought it back from Africa.
Gee.
So this was kind of I don't want to say cool, but like it was perceived as cool at the time
Yeah.
because once you had AIDS, you got to go to this amazing clinic that was out in the hills where you had all the food you wanted. You got to be in rock bands. You weren't harassed by police. So they had all these bands
This doesn't
sprung
sound
up.
real.
I know, all these bands sprung up in these clinics. So there was like Nirvana cover bands and this amazing band called Scum and I can't remember. Oh, another band called AIDS.
Did you listen to them?
I've heard some of them.
Did they sound cool?
Well, like I'm not into thrashcore. It's like trash,
Okay.
crusty stuff, you know.
Yeah, okay.
Hardcore stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I think some members of Led Zeppelin later came over and played Cuba and kind of paid homage to this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so they're in this clinic. They're having the time of their lives. You know, everyone out in the street is eating cats and starving. They can't even get bread or food.
Yeah.
They're in these clinics with their AIDS, having the time of their lives. Sort
Yeah.
of, you know, all these rock bands getting all the food they want. They
Yeah.
get to go out every 21 days as well into the public. And when they went out, they had this card that said, "We've got AIDS," right in the public.
Mm-hmm.
And the police were terrified of them. Like one guy kind of got a syringe and was like, "Don't come near us. We've got
Mm-hmm.
AIDS." And yeah, everything was going great until, of course, they all started to die.
Yeah.
And it ends really sadly with your man, Papa, who started the movement, getting a parasite in his brain, bleeding out of his mouth and his eyes, but still defiant to the end, saying, "I chose death over socialism." And everyone kind of believed, because they'd such a good healthcare system in Cuba, that, you know, they'd find a cure for AIDS
Mm-hmm.
at some point, and they didn't, and they
Yeah.
all died.
So he had blood coming out of his eyes and his mouth.
That's how there's
Happy New Year, everybody. That's the show.
Yeah, we're back. We're back.
We're back. There's a documentary called Socialism or Death by a Swedish guy that you should watch. It's really good.
Okay. What's the documentary called?
Socialism or Death.
Sorry, didn't listen.
Socialism e morte,
Okay.
I believe it's called.
Wow, well, that's fascinating.
Yeah, mad.
Um,
So did we see that many rockers when we were there?
No, not really.
No. But then,
I
so
would-
somebody, then finally told Castro, look, all the
Sure, there
kids
are
are doing
loads of-
this.
Yeah.
So Castro said, right, no more syringes in the chemists, and anyone who injects themselves with AIDS is getting 8 years in prison. And it didn't really stop it. Like, what happened was everyone died, and that's what stopped it. And there's awful footage in that documentary of just these girls saying, "I regret it so much. I'm dying. I what was I thinking?" You know.
God.
But it
That's
kind
so
of
stupid.
people aren't sure if it actually made a difference, though. Do you know what I mean? Like if it changed Castro's mind about some things. So the Beatles, the Beatles are massive in Cuba now.
Okay.
Yeah, and they famously have a park called John Lennon Park.
It's hilarious.
What's up with this park?
Okay, there's one. Conan, do you want to tell?
No, you go ahead.
There's one lady whose job, I think she's employed by the government, right? And she sits in John Lennon Park with this pair of glasses, And her job is, whenever tourists come along, she used to like totter over to this statue of John Lennon sitting on a bench and put the glasses on him. And then when the tourists leave, she has to take them off and sit
Why?
back over by the
So everyone
bushes.
kept robbing them.
Because they were robbed 13 times.
Way.
So that's her thing. just
What's
puts
the
glass
statue
on.
made out of?
It's bronze.
Bronze.
It's like
Are
on
they
a,
bronze glasses?
yeah.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know why. Yeah, it's hilarious. And she shifts.
Just two little holes above his ears that they slot
Yeah.
into. So obviously the sculptor had to pop them in there, and someone just kept ripping them off.
Yeah.
So she just comes over and
And
pops
her
them
and
on.
another old man, they have like a different shift change. So she does the morning, he does the
No
night, or
way.
something like that. Yeah, it's hilarious.
That's gas.
Yeah.
But they called it that not because he was there or anything. It's just as this one park that it was illegal to listen to rock music or whatever
Yeah.
at the time, and so the kids would all go to this one place, and someone would have a radio, and
Yeah.
they'd put on a tape of the Beatles or the
Yeah,
Rolling
yeah,
Stones
yeah.
or something and listen to it in this park. And I think they tried to crack down on it at the start, but then they realised that you can't stop the kids from listening to rock and roll. So they
never stop
allowed
the
them
kids.
to go there, and then it became such a popular place that they renamed it John Lennon Park.
No way, that's pretty cool.
And then, it's a big thing now, a big statue of him there. And
And then weirdly, the tour guide when we were there said that Castro sort of identified with the Beatles.
he liked John Lennon's socialist leanings, yeah.
Yeah. So.
When he was all peace and love.
But weirdly, right opposite that park was like this lovely house. This is another whole area we could talk about, where 25 families were living in it.
How big is the house?
4-story or something. It's a big colonial house, but
yeah.
Okay.
big colonial house, but it was run down.
This is tenement style stuff, is it?
Yeah, it's like reclaimed. You'd reclaim like the sitting room into one apartment.
Yeah.
So it's all split up.
The government would split that up and put
They'd
people
split
in
it
there.
up, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
see, up until 2 years ago, Cubans weren't allowed to sell houses. So whatever house you were born in was the house you kind of were stuck with forever, unless you could
Right.
swap with someone else.
Okay.
So then if you were a couple and you have 6 kids, and then they have kids, just these huge families.
Just
So
doesn't make any sense.
when we were walking around, it felt like I was walking through tenement Ireland. Do you know what I mean? Because you can just see in
Yeah.
the houses as well, and you're like, "Wow, look how big that is! How many people are in the house? What the
Yeah.
hell?"
Yeah.
But they're obviously beautiful. They're all colonial style, and they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
'Cause-
All run down though, are they?
yeah, but I kind of he said at one point,
Do they have electricity and water?
Yeah, that's provided by the government.
Governments.
Like the government pays for your housing, it pays for your electricity, your water,
Yeah.
your social care, like health, and your education. So
Okay.
you get all that, and you get
And
food
food.
rations.
Okay.
So it does provide all that stuff for you,
Yeah.
but the same for everybody. So what happens is in these houses that nobody. Well, this is what one person told us that. Nobody wants to do up their house because it makes it seem like they have more than somebody else beside them, and having more than somebody else beside you isn't a done thing really. So, and also if you have extra money, you may more likely the government will look at you, go, how
Yeah.
come you look like you've more money? So it
Yeah.
brings unwanted attention. So nobody really wants to bring that on
I
themselves.
read something about, and you guys can correct me on the name of this, but the restaurants are called like paladares or something like that. Is that right?
"Oh yeah, in people's houses, they open up their house." to-
Yeah, and I heard like if that becomes, you have to be careful not to become too successful, because if you do, the government will come in and give you 2 choices. One is you can give us your business, or you can go to jail.
That was 2 years ago. Yes. Nowadays, no.
Nowadays, no.
the government retain 51% of every business, and they don't encourage it, but they're happy to have private business.
Okay.
So you can have a private business now in
They
Cuba.
kind of have to. Really,
In the
don't they?
tourist
'Cause nothing's
industry
working
only, though.
otherwise.
Yeah, well, that is tourism.
Yeah,
Restaurants.
that's you can't have it in any other industry,
Yeah.
public or private business.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
There's
tourist
a
only.
problem because there's so
It
many
will have to change,
tourists
though.
want to go there.
At some stage.
Our tour guide told us that ever since the Rolling Stones played last year, there's been a huge surge in tourism, but there isn't enough restaurants and hotels and
Yeah.
places for people to stay.
Yeah.
So the government need to encourage
something.
people. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right, well, guys, one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is the internet, because
Nightmare.
that's basically what our show was based on.
Yeah.
So,
They won't be able to listen there unless they go to stand outside a hotel.
well, this is the thing that I didn't know. Only
Okay.
5% of Cubans estimated have the internet at home, and they're usually they've been given permission by the government. They're usually academics, doctors, intellectuals, but the rest of the country doesn't have any.
I read an article today, though, that said that they've just unveiled a new pilot program to bring internet to 2,000 houses in Old Havana in the
Okay.
city as a test to see.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is open internet, apparently, so you can go on any site, so it's not like restricted internet. So they're starting only very slowly to bring
That's
in.
just
But
the
it's like
2,000, is it?
256 kilobyte upload or something, so it's really slow. Really bad internet, but
But what they've done in true Cuban fashion, whenever they're told they can't have something, they make their own. So they've created their own intranet.
Yeah.
So
It's an internal internet.
yeah, so 2 or 3 lads in Old Havana just like got some cables and a switcher, and we're just sharing between their computers.
Cool.
And the next thing, these cables just go all over the rooftops of Havana, and everyone's sharing, like thousands of people through the intranet.
Wow.
So they can't go on Google or YouTube, but they're sharing all their, their movies and their
Yeah, it's-
music, and
it's like
they've chat rooms throughout it as well.
Like most big businesses have an intranet. It's just like an internal.
yeah.
Yeah.
But now the whole city has an intranet.
Wow, no
Yeah.
way.
So
But
yeah,
like
they're running cables across the tops of buildings and stuff, peer to peer.
So for the rest of the people, if they want to connect to the internet, though, what I was reading was that they do have some internet hotspots, but they cost something like 80p an hour.
Yeah, in the public parks.
Yeah.
So it's weird. You go to these public parks, and outside the parks and the streets, everyone's walking around. It's really a happy place, lots of music, and people are heads up, jumping around. It's nice. And then you go past these parks, and all of a sudden, everyone in the park is glued to the phones. It's really
Glued
like
to
a
the phone.
zombie scene just happened.
No way.
It's like everyone's just like looking down, they're not chatting. So it's kind of interesting walking through. And
What was this other thing that you guys were telling me about the package?
Oh, hilarious.
we might get our podcast in the package if we're lucky.
Yeah.
It's basically a big, like a file full of all of the current cool episodes of whatever TV shows, movies,
Now,
music.
Who brings that in? Is that one person that brings that in, or
one absolute legend in Cuba who's smuggling?
I don't know if it's there's probably loads of people bringing in stuff,
But you met one.
It
It's
started
compiled.
with a few people anyway, and they would obviously probably from Florida.
Yeah.
They'd bring over hard drives
a
full
big
of
brick hard drive?
full of all the latest shows. I think it arrives every Wednesday. Is that right, Conan? And then
Oh, so it's once a week?
Weekly updates, yeah.
And then
Cool.
and then I think on a Wednesday, everyone runs these kiosks around the city and hands in their USB stick.
Mm-hmm.
And for £1, you can get like a series of Game of Thrones. But if you pay like, I don't know, 10 or
That's
20.
still quite pricey, though, isn't it? For your
No,
average person?
no, the peso is 25 times less than
Oh, sorry.
the
This is another weird
This
thing.
is- yeah,
That's the
the
native peso.
the dual
Yeah,
currency
a
thing.
peso
Okay, so
is like-
so if people don't know, there's two currencies. There's like it is called peso as well for tourists.
Yeah,
but it's a
it's
different
No,
peso.
no, it's
Cuban. Yeah, the cook, but it's the convertible peso.
Yeah,
is
convertible
the,
peso, yeah.
Cuban convertible peso is the tourist one, and then
Yeah.
the Cuban peso is the
Okay.
normal.
Oh, okay, so it's $1 in the native.
In the
What's
native,
What's that equate to
The
in
CUP
euro?
and the CUC.
There's
Or dollar.
25 pesos and €1. So
Okay.
for one
Alright.
peso, you're getting one series. But if you pay for the full, so if you want to buy a load of series or music,
The full terabyte. I think it's around a terabyte or 2
Yeah.
terabytes. The full package.
it's like Sky coming to your house.
yeah,
They come
they'll
in
drop
and
off a hard drive to you basically,
Well,
or
they-
you drop it in and then they'll put it on your computer. Or whatever,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
and it's weird because it's technically illegal, but it's technically not illegal. It's like
It's not. Yeah, I don't think they
a
crack
grey
down on
area.
it. You know what I mean? They don't want to take away all media. They know that people will
It's gonna
somehow get it. And if it's
Yeah.
TV series, it's a music and stuff, and they have up to date albums and all, and they're like the people we were
That's
chatting
like
to.
drug dealing, really, isn't it? Actually,
Sort of, yeah, but it's like
digital media.
I think you're
Yeah.
gonna be in big trouble if you're caught with drugs over there more so.
yeah,
than you're
yeah,
caught
but
with a
no,
few
just
series.
the way it's done is like drug dealing.
Sort
really.
of, yeah, yeah.
Stuff is important.
You know the guy, you get in, you get whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
What stops people from, if you paid a peso, do people not just gang together and buy stuff together and share it
I
amongst
presume
themselves?
you
or-
can, bring your USB key to your mate's computer.
Yeah.
But I think if you want up to date stuff, you know what I mean. You want the newest series.
Yeah, okay.
But
could your mate not just go get that and then share it to everybody?
I'm sure they do.
That
But
does
somebody
happen.
has to pay the peso.
they work pretty long hours and stuff. Yeah. I can imagine being a bit difficult.
To get all that, do all that kind of crap.
You might want to watch the show in the morning and your mate's working at night.
Yeah,
I
okay,
don't know.
okay.
Be a bit.
I mean, it's probably cheap enough for them not to care, really.
Yeah.
I mean, for that thing, I think it's not going to be too much.
But yeah, it's hilarious. Like the package is arriving.
Yeah, it's
Wednesday,
pretty famous.
And everyone runs to the kiosk and they're like, "Give me the latest,
Yeah.
whatever show." It's brilliant.
That sounds
Yeah,
pretty
because
cool.
the people we met on the first night actually was we were like, have you seen Westworld? And they're like, yeah, I finished it last week. And we're like, shit, we haven't even finished it yet. And I'm like, what happens? And like they're way ahead of us in some things, But they're as up to date. It's kind of a misconception that they're not up to date on stuff. And
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
living
yeah.
in the past. They're not. They're up on it. It's just harder to get it. Like
Yeah.
I suppose it's like our kind of internet 10 years ago. When you were waiting for one photo to download, and it's like burp.
Yeah.
A little bit, or waiting for an old thing to download.
It reminds
on
me just
Napster.
of just when we didn't really have the internet and you had to have CDs for albums and stuff like that.
Yeah,
All that kind of stuff. But because nobody really sits down and listens to an album anymore, do they?
I do.
Yeah.
I love
do.
listening to albums.
Yeah.
But I'd make time to do it.
Yeah, I try
you
and
know.
make myself do it,
Yeah, it wouldn't like if I was just scanning through new music, I would kind of just listen to one individual thing. But if I thought there was 2-3 tracks off an album I listened to and I heard it was good, I'd get the album and listen to the
listen
full
to the whole
thing.
thing. Now, speaking of music, UNESCO has created a list of intangible heritage things, and one of them was Cuba's sensual rumba dance.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys see any? Is that music or is that a dance?
The
It's a
rumba
dance.
is a type of a
Yeah.
It's a
rhythm.
dance.
The rumba is a rhythm.
Rhythm?
And there's obviously a dance that goes with it.
Did you see any of this?
Yes.
Everyone's
Everyone's
dancing.
an amazing dancer.
Everyone.
Like,
It's
unbelievable.
mental. You
They're
get to
all-
the airport and like
What?
behind the kiosk, they're just
Someone's
dancing.
dancing.
They're just
it's just
naturally
it's
rhythm.
like they're walking.
Natural rhythm in
it's
that in the
mental.
Really?
in the
Yeah.
crew.
Just
Yeah.
jiggling around the place.
Yeah.
They're all good. Like they all have the steps.
The
and
street sweepers
everyone is,
dancing. There's music everywhere. It's
bopping. Yeah,
mental,
it's
yeah.
cool.
Was it good or was it really annoying?
It was great, except for that one particular Buena Vista Social Club. Ham
and mayonnaise, yeah.
Every
Famous ham and mayonnaise
second
song.
place you go to, there's lads playing that.
Dave, can
Do
you
us
sing
your
your version?
rendition.
No, we'll keep
Lee,
going.
Dave,
Let's keep
come
going.
on.
Maybe later on. Let's keep going. We've got a podcast to do.
But like, you know, it was like all the rest of the tune. It's just that one tune, I suppose, because you recognise it. But it was played. There were
repeat.
loads of live music, so there's salsa bands nearly in
Yeah.
every second bar. But in every second bar you go to, you'd hear that tune again, and maybe 3 or 4 times in the day, and maybe
Fucking hell.
5 days in a row you'd hear it. And it's, by
That
the end of
would
it, we're
do
like,
my
I hear
head
that tune
But like
again.
I'd be hanging out at like a mate's house party, you know, and we'd all be drinking rum, smoking cigars, hanging out.
Yeah.
And the next thing you'd be mid conversation, you just get up and dance while continuing the conversation, and sit back down.
They
and be like,
particularly
"Whoa."
happen to be a bunch of dance teachers, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
But
it's just really natural. Even like in the 5-star hotel we were at, the ladies were like, "Can I book you into your room?" Just part of the rhythm.
all right.
Actually, one girl I spoke to, I said,
The rhythm of
all
life.
the different dances that are here, you know, the cha-cha, the rumba.
It's a magical
yeah.
thing. I can't remember. How does that go?
Sorry, go
Rhythm
ahead.
I think we're thinking about different songs.
I just got that into my
So
head.
there's obviously there's the rumba, the cha-cha, I don't know, salsa, all these
Obviously,
different
yeah.
dances. And I asked her, "What's your favorite one?" And she turns to me and goes, "River dance."
What?
I was like,
yeah.
"What?"
That was a bit of a mind blower. What's your favourite dance?
And she was
River
like,
dance.
"I hope they come here one day." And I was
Really?
like, out of all the dances in Cuba, you're like,
No way.
River dance is I suppose it's
Wow.
it's not because it's
Yeah.
not so normal to them. It's
It's pretty spectacular.
It helped being Irish there, I have to
I have a
say.
season pass to it.
Yeah.
Okay, have you guys heard about
Socialism
the Pearl?
or death.
Ooh.
no.
Okay, so, actually, this was another thing. Actually, I'll talk about the Pearl. Okay, so the Pearl, it's very popular apparently for Cuban men, especially in the military, to get a pearl.
Okay.
Like
What do
diving,
what do you think that might be?
free diving.
Is
No.
it the thing we talked about before under the penis? Where you
Whoa.
get the...
Oh, we did talk about that before, didn't we? Did we
Is
talk
that
about it
like
on
a
the show?
Prince Albert?
Yeah,
Oh, bollocks!
Oh,
I
isn't
thought
it?
this
Is
was big
it?
breaking news? We
if
did
you
talk about
listen
it,
back to our Valentine's
I remember
episode,
talking about it before, but I didn't know what it to do with the Cuban military.
Apparently, it happens a lot in the Cuban military because lads are, like, you know, sitting around bored and they just go.
Yeah,
"You got a
'cause everyone
pearl?
has
No,
to
I
do a
want one."
year
Yeah.
of
Well, let's
conscription.
let's explain what the
conscription.
pearl
This is what the guys do. So, one guy, there was an interview with one guy that was reading where he said that his was. He was in the military and it was a domino piece that he fashioned down, and then he would put it in his mouth and he carried it in his mouth all day, grinding it down with his teeth to get it into a shiny ball. And then he puts his langer on a flat surface and they put a little cut in, and I think just behind
Jesus.
just behind the head,
Yeah.
that's where they put the ball in, just under the skin.
I presume this is done by professionals, not just bored soldiers.
He said that the guy who did it used the sharpened end of a toothbrush.
Oh, that sounds like prison style stuff.
Yep.
Like,
But,
Cuba's known for its doctors, maybe not its plastic surgeons.
It's
though, I
usually
don't
usually
know.
performed at home, but there was a doctor talking
Actually,
about
under socialism, maybe that kind of procedure isn't allowed in, your socialist
Oh, there'd be no one doing it.
healthcare.
it. No.
I want
The doctor from Cuba that was talking about it said that she had to remove parts of penises because
they
the
did such a
gangrene is
bad
very
job.
very common
Oh god.
from it. And apparently this originates from the Yakuza, who used to pop a pearl in for each year they were in jail.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Where are they getting pearls in jail?
Well, just making up like a little roundy thing, you know what I mean?
God, so it's not even a pearl. So,
Jesus,
'cause
no.
pearl's probably antibacterial, or but other things are probably not.
So
Anyway.
you didn't come across this or hear about
No.
We did come across a dick pic, actually. That was funny.
That was funny. Yeah.
it? Just one.
Yeah.
Well, apparently porn is banned in
Yeah, it's
in
weird.
Cuba.
I think because
But-
of the lack of internet, it mustn't be such a big thing.
But hang on, but I did read this that although it's banned, that it's sometimes porn is just on in bars.
No.
Did you see that?
Didn't see any porn in bars. No.
They're just on the TV instead of football. There's just be porn on, and people don't really pay much
No,
attention to it.
didn't notice that.
I
I would
remember
have noticed.
there's a lot of like rap videos and that, like we're watching.
Oh, the music videos for their kind of pop, the Cuban pop, are the
Yeah.
worst.
But even
Yeah.
seeing
All the same. It's like he's trying to go after this girl. The girl says no. Then he does something really cool, and then the girl falls back in love with him, and then he says no.
He shows her his pearl.
He shows her, and then he's like, "No, thank you. You had your chance." They're all the same.
and it's like reggaeton beat, the same one all the time. Cubaton beat, actually.
And he's really sad at the start, but then no, I'm cool now. It's too late.
But
Check
even
out my pearl, baby.
all the obviously the normal rap that we get like is on over there too, like watching whatever French Montana and Kanye West, whatever. And it's just weird to see them all being like, get money, money, get money, money. And
Yeah.
And then they can't get any money.
and then yeah, and it's like that's so weird to see all these communists kind of singing along to this rap
Just a bit of music, though, isn't
ideology that can't happen.
it? Just a bit of music, though, isn't it? And did you guys see any? Speaking of music, did you guys see any cool music over there?
Yeah, we went to an amazing club twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was so
cool.
amazing about it?
It's called I can't say it in
Fabrica
Spanish.
de Arts.
Fabrica de
Fabrica de
Arts.
Arts. It's great.
It's like a massive art museum, but like a weird, cool, modern art museum.
It's deadly. It's like a mix of the Button Factory and Bernard Shaw, but much better.
But like 3 floors
Cool.
high with like loads of outdoor bars, and that's
When you
where,
say an art gallery, was there loads of art there?
yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant art.
Proper modern art and
Yeah.
photography and stuff. And then it's
All
like
on the walls, or did they have
all over
pieces
the walls.
in the
They
middle
had
of the floor?
pieces as well. They
Wow.
had sculpture. They
Yeah.
had all sorts of stuff. So it's a big gallery, but except like 3 or 4 bars in it.
Cool.
And there's also an area with the big screen. They're showing like massive cinema-sized screen showing
Yeah.
films. 2 venues, one with a kind of DJ, one with kind of live actors for some jazz and some salsa.
Savage.
Yeah.
And
And that's, if you're ever going to
Banging house
Cuba,
tunes.
that's the place to go, because that's where all the regular Cubans hang out and all the tourists like us. And
That's the hot ticket.
it is.
Yeah.
And as soon as you're there, they're like, come back to our house
That's
party.
a new feature on the show, by the way.
yeah, the hot ticket.
That's the
The
hot
hot ticket this week.
Yeah.
But that's the place to go. That's where we met everyone. So as soon as we were there, we like got everyone's number and we went back to people's houses and
Cool.
back to after parties and
Wow.
got chatting to everyone. And it's mad because they're really like, I met another journalist, kind of, I don't know if
Yeah.
he's a radio journalist, but he was sort of like us, but he makes 15 quid a month.
Wow.
And I was just like, how do
That's
you...
average over there, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, an engineering student coming out of college makes 13 quid a month and can make up to 30. Another friend we met is a like psychology professor in Havana. And she is making 30 quid, well, 23 quid a month.
You might know the answer to this, but are you highly restricted as a journalist in Cuba?
Well, there's like a list, a global list of all the most restricted places in the world, and Cuba's next to North Korea, I believe.
I think
Right.
publicised media, yeah, it's very much read over before it's put out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Are there loads of independent publications, or are you writing for a state paper, or what's the...
didn't see many publications, didn't see many papers, you know.
I did, they're in
There's
Spanish.
a lot of tourist
What's that magazine
magazines.
that you had there earlier on?
Carrera, yeah.
Is that a state one?
That's
or is
more
that
like a kind of the ticket or something for,
Okay.
for
yeah,
thing, you know.
things going on.
the... Sorry, the hot ticket.
The hot ticket.
A new
or
segment we're doing
in
there.
Cuba. But it had like Castro's face on it for this one because he just died or whatever.
Yeah, of
so
course,
it was a big.
Oh, that was
topic.
interesting. So we were reading, I guess everyone who's been looking at Castro's funeral, there's sort of this perception that everyone was forced to go to the funeral, and if they didn't, they'd be arrested or lose their jobs.
Yeah.
So we went to Havana Square and interviewed a girl about that. And she was like, yes, they would lose their jobs. 1 million people were here and they would lose their jobs. And then
If they didn't attend.
If they didn't attend.
But this turned out to be not true.
And then we asked another girl and she's like, that's absolute bollocks. So,
Yeah, I mean, people were like, you know, expected to attend, like because it's Castro.
Yeah.
But people who didn't want to go didn't have to, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it might have been. I'd say most people would have gone anyway, though, because you know, why would you?
Day off work.
Yeah.
Day off work, maybe. Yeah.
But that same girl told us other kind of horror stories. She said there's
Wait,
cameras.
this is the one that believed that people would get a...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So she told us there's
She
cameras.
was very
She
anti-establishment.
was so anti, yeah.
She had family who were obviously exiled and lived in Miami.
Okay.
So she didn't like the fact that they were, kicked out of Cuba.
Yeah.
She was very anti the regime and anti
Yeah.
this and that. And she was one side of our story that we heard about like how bad they are, how they repress everyone. But we heard from other people that it's just not like that, really.
Okay.
And she
So
said
very
to us,
different, they're very different experiences, really, from people there, depending on what's
big
happening.
time, yeah. I mean, I suppose there's, I don't know what kind of things that they think tourists want to hear, and then there's what people in Cuba really think,
Yeah.
So it's like it's easy for them to be a tour guide and live up to it. Oh, well, we heard that you can't do this, and then like, yeah, you can't, it reinforces a bias that they have. But then normal Cubans would tell you like, well, that's not really like that, and especially in the last 6 years since Raul took over, I think it's 6 years. But a lot of things have opened up, like Obama was over and all. We went to go to the restaurant that Obama went to when he was in Cuba, and we couldn't afford it.
What was it called?
Oh, I can't remember.
It was in Central Havana.
It wasn't in that famous hotel.
No, it wasn't. It was a small enough, well, big in scale of Cuban restaurants, but it was small enough. It was kind of fancy looking, though, old style. Like a granny's sitting room. Like
But one thing she told us was that there's cameras all over the city and there's cops looking at them.
But another person said that half of them cameras don't work.
But they don't.
Yeah, I'd imagine that.
Well, I think cops are looking to see. So they call it a tourism apartheid in Cuba at the moment. So if you're a tourist, it's brilliant because there's tourist cops looking out for you the whole time. They really want you to have a good time. They need your money. They need you to come back.
Yeah.
They need you to be spreading good news about Cuba to make more people come. So you're the ones getting the steaks and the beef and, having the good time. Whereas perhaps all the money that comes in from you is...
Didn't a cop extort you for a bit of money?
I had to bribe a cop, yeah.
Not exactly extort, Tracy.
Okay.
Misbehaving.
Tracy jumped the wall at the Revolutionary Museum
Wasn't going to pay
to
for
take
that
a shortcut. No, we're going to pay, and she decided it would be a shortcut.
Yeah.
And I was like, don't jump over that wall. It's the Revolutionary Museum. She baits over it.
I could
And
fucking
then
do
2
it.
seconds later, military police, not even normal police, military police with a beret and all, like full on.
Guns?
He had a gun, full on, combat gear.
Yeah.
Comes out and goes, "What are you doing?" Like, did you just jump over the gate? And we're like, "Yeah." We're going to go over and pay though. We're just taking a quick look. He's like, "No, listen, it's a cook or whatever it is, CUC."
Yeah.
And I only had 20 in my wallet, so I took it out. And as soon as he saw me in my hand, he grabbed it like a handshake. And then
That old
the
Cuban
20 was
handshake.
gone, and he was like, "Off you go." So
Okay.
it was our fault, really.
It was, yeah.
All right, just want
I
to check
say
that one out.
our.
But yeah, she did terrify me with a few of her stories, and she said how the rations have depleted. But technically, Cuba's in a recession right now.
Yep.
Something to do with Venezuela and their oil prices dropping, and how they only trade with China, Venezuela, Russia, and
Spain,
Canada.
As well, Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're kind of screwed. So.
Still loads of sanctions from America on the country. So
Yeah.
Brazil as well, don't they? They have beef from Brazil.
maybe.
Not sure.
There are very little trading, not like compared to most people. Very little trading partners. But they're what was I gonna say?
How are we? By the way, guys, we're not to put it down on it, but we need to finish up soon. So what do you guys want to finish up on?
I think go there. It's
Go
amazing.
there.
Yeah,
Go there,
it's
check it out.
absolutely amazing. You'll have the best time ever.
That's
Well, one of
correct.
the things you said, Conan, to me was it was just lovely, just kind of like Irish summer weather all the time.
It was
and just
the
sitting around.
winter there. They had the depth of
smoking a
winter,
cigar,
except
drinking
it was
rum all day.
perfect weather for Irish people.
Yeah.
You can go outside. I didn't really need sun cream. It was December. I think it's just after the monsoon season is like August, September, October, and then November, December it starts getting really nice, and then into the high season so it is the high season there at our Christmas December period, and then in I think March or June, July, August are meant to be unbearably hot. It gets up to the high 30s and stuff.
We'll also have a link with all the details, and there'll be a link for you to book your holiday through.
Yeah, exactly.
We take a small little
we
commission.
are now tour guides. But yeah, it's an amazing place, and like we didn't get to go to like further into the country where it's meant to be even more beautiful, like rainforest, not rainforest, but forests, and kind of lots of deadly jungles and like waterfalls and stuff like that you can swim underneath and everything. So it's
Wow.
it's really, really beautiful place. Beaches are amazing, and
Cool.
definitely go
The
there.
main thing is
It's
the people,
different.
though. It's like the people are just fantastic. It's
Awesome.
all going back
Yeah.
to their house parties, drinking rum, dancing.
Yeah.
They're just sound
I
out
think
of
they're
it.
famous for being very
Yeah,
generous.
they're very, very friendly, you know, and they're just cool people to talk to, and because they're all pretty much really well educated because they get a degree. Everyone gets a degree.
Yeah.
They
of
all
course, yeah.
have a lot of information, or they're all
Yeah.
just educated really highly. So your conversation level is really good.
Hang on, one thing is they're not allowed to leave, are they?
They are, but you
What's the
have
story
to
on travel? If you're Cuban,
No country will take you in is the problem. Castro says you can go, but no other country says you can arrive.
They won't kind of provide the standard visas that you need to travel, or the passport type thing, you know.
okay.
So a lot of countries don't honour these Cuban visas. So it is.
To Ireland?
No.
I don't know.
Why is that?
People
It's
say
because
no money.
the sanctions from America are still on the country. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't let it's like not free flow of trade and.
But just
movement.
everyone is in on that.
Yeah,
every other
because
country?
if you go against the sanctions, then you're going against the sanction makers,
Okay.
which is the states. You know,
That's
and nobody
crazy.
wants to. Nobody's arsed because it's not a good enough trading partner.
Yeah,
Cuba,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
I know
unless
the
they
Irish.
really want cigars and rum.
I know the Irish Communist Party here bring diabetes medicine over, but that's like them giving it. But if America knew that Ireland was technically trading with Cuba, that wouldn't be good, I
All right.
believe.
Yeah, it's difficult for them to get stuff like.
They have a law called the Helmsford something law that isn't it if a boat arrives in Cuba then it can't arrive to your country?
I don't
Isn't
know.
that some sort of trade law? I
Yeah,
can't
they need
remember.
to lift the sanctions. They're ridiculous at this stage. They're not doing anything. The communism is going to spread, you know, into America. It's not going to happen like that.
Yeah.
That's all over. You know, like Soviet Empire collapsed in the 80s. You know, it's ludicrous that they still have these things on them, and it's making the people, you know, not be able to get what they need.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that. But in one way, the communism has preserved a certain element of the culture.
Yeah.
Even though it's still making people really poor. But if you look at kind of other islands in the region like Jamaica and Puerto Rico and Haiti and stuff like that, like capitalism hasn't exactly helped them. You know, they're very much. I mean, the disparity between rich and poor there would be massive. I mean, you wouldn't have people in the streets homeless in Cuba. You know, you get looked after on that level.
Yeah.
But you don't have people in mansions like laughing and burning money and like
Yeah.
having pool
But
parties
at
like
least
you would in
at least the-
Jamaica or something as well.
The kind of trade was better run, you know, at least with things like what we started with the beef. They would know what they're getting, because I heard like that a lot of the beef that comes from America, they don't get to check it beforehand. There's like gagging laws on abattoirs and the whole abattoir industry in the States, so you can't see what they're sending over. And apparently
the stuff
it's
that
stuff that's
isn't
used
us,
for
is.
for dog meat, you know.
Yeah.
So at least they'd be able to check that out. But
Another negative is the car fumes. They need to
of
get
those
some
old cool cars.
unleaded.
Yeah, the cars are
oh
unbelievable.
God, you were telling me
Yeah.
this, that you would walk
They're
around
amazing.
all day and you would have like a film of carbon on you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well that's okay. The engines are all diesel, and like it's like like their own I don't know, catalytic converters or whatever.
They've got
cleans.
lead in them.
They're not cleaned. Yeah, it's not clean
Yeah.
fuel, and you just get covered in all the emissions.
God.
But you kind of let that away with that because the cars are so damn cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got Cadillacs, you've got everything.
Good for 2 weeks.
Yeah, pre-60s cars, you know, and like they're all. It's amazing because they preserved them with like 80s Lada engines
Yeah.
in like a big massive bruiser of an American car.
Wow.
And
amazing.
some of them are unbelievable, and it's just so cool. It's not like they're just for show. Everybody has them. There's more of those classic cars than there is normal cars. Very unusual to see a modern car. I think the Peugeots were the only ones I noticed. Like you might get a 2000 era Peugeot.
Yeah.
I don't know how they get in there.
Sticks
Peugeot.
out like a sore thumb.
And then you've got a lot of 80s, 90s era Soviet cars. Ladas, and there's another name for the other type of Russian car.
And you just have to get into the mentality of you just hitchhike in Cuba. People
Yeah.
just going to and from places, just
Yeah.
put out
Give
your
'em some money.
thumb. But our Cuban friends would be paying 50 cents hitchhiking, and we'd be paying up to £8.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
One person refused to pay that much, and he kicked us out. We were like, "Oh shit, we're lost." But that's annoying when you're hanging out with Cuban
Yeah.
people. They're like, "Oh, they're paying a quarter of what
Yeah.
I'm paying for
Yeah.
the
There's
same
there's a
thing."
big misconception that they're hagglers and hasslers as well. Like, you know, they will come up here and say, "Do you want to go on a tour? Do you want to come to my restaurant?" and all, but it's not. You just say no gracias, and they just leave you alone. It's not like I read on TripAdvisor before. I was going like, "Oh, they're all over you," you know. It's like, but it's not like that at all. They're not
Yeah.
that bad. People, I think, just haven't been there, and they
Yeah.
just have this kind of misconception and stuff that you're going,
Yeah.
especially really safe. Like, it was one of the safest places I've ever been.
Mm-hmm.
First night we got there at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. We went out for a drink, and it was dark. Street lights aren't great either. So we were kind of like sketchy going because it looks a bit run down, you know, like things running past on the street. And you're like, what's that? And then the next day, and the sun comes up, and it's all like, woo, carnival vibes. And then we realised, it's actually totally safe, you know, anywhere you went, really. Especially for Cuba, or for tourists, because, you know, they don't mess with you for tourists.
Yeah. Right.
Final message?
Or
was that it?
I think it's amazing how they make
Go there.
their own stuff too. I love
Very
them.
resourceful people.
Medical students said that they possibly have a cure for AIDS and lung cancer, and like they just, I think they made their own computers in neurology college.
We
when
didn't
they
talk
couldn't
about
get
the
their computers
American guys we met there who were studying to be
Yeah.
doctors in Cuba to get a free education. So they would be leaving Cuba with a free, after 6 years of studying to be doctors, they could leave and go back to America and just do their medical exams and then be
How did
qualified
they manage
doctors.
to?
Or else in America they'd be leaving college with 300 grand debt.
Yeah.
Whereas they leave Cuba with no debt and then it can jump into 100 grand a year
How do they
job.
manage to get
You can
the
apply.
education?
Basically, you work there. You know what I mean? They worked
Okay.
in the hospital from day to day.
Yeah.
They do 8 hours, 10 hours, whatever, and they're paid same as Cuban people. Like they're 10, 12 quid a month, but they get all their food and stuff, and they get a free education.
Wow.
And then they're allowed to go back to America.
Wow.
I think we'll actually end on a clip of them because I did a great recording with them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some
Okay.
interesting stuff. They were
Yeah.
pretty interesting. So they've been there for 6 years. These two Americans.
They said all the changes they
we couldn't
noticed.
believe it. We're like, I can't believe these Americans going there to get an education, you know. And they were like, well, we just couldn't get this in America.
Yeah.
Couldn't afford it, and you know, we'd leave with all this debt, and then we could come here and live in Cuba. It's hard because they don't have that much money or whatever.
For sure, yeah.
But they said in the end of the day, it'll work out way better for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
we'll put together a clip and we'll leave on that.
Okay, guys, first one of the year. Yeah. Hope you enjoy it.
2017. Stop killing our celebrities.
Oh yeah, Dave. So for next week we're going to be talking about all the mad stuff.
Okay.
that's-
All the cool stuff that's coming up in 2017 for you to look out for.
So I can't wait to
yeah.
show you the new celebrity Irish ASMR.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
A celebrity.
Yeah, Irish celebrity
Wow.
ASMR.
Is it you,
Hilarious.
Tracy?
No, it should be. But people love Irish accents so much that I bet the first person that does this is going to make a killing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Could be you.
Yeah.
No. And what else is coming up? We're going to be talking about the EU law to tax robots. We're gonna be
Finally.
yeah.
It's about
They're not
bloody
paying tax,
time.
taking our jobs.
The best new shows and all the best new movies for 2017. Really, Twin Peaks is out. Really excited about that. Very
Is
excited.
that a movie?
No, a new series,
series,
with
okay.
David Lynch, yeah. And Dave, I was going to end on a new game that I found while travelling to Cuba that I think you'll absolutely hate. You ready
Okay.
for this?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
This is a clip or something you're going to play?
Yeah, this is PewDiePie's simulator. It's had 48 million.
Okay. Is this made by PewDiePie?
Too long.
This is made by PewDiePie. 48 million
Sat
subscribers.
atop the YouTube throne.
I don't know why you think David will hate it. He's probably going to be loving it. Playing it every day.
You have the chance to take him out and become number one in Tuber Sim. Build your space.
What is this?
You get to be PewDiePie.
Make
Oh,
videos.
so you pretend to be a...
And get enough views to
I
become
would
biggest
a
YouTuber
YouTuber of all
simulator.
I
time.
feel nothing towards... It's not that weird.
Hey, how's it going, bros? My name is PewDiePie. Welcome to PewDiePie's Tuber Simulator.
I mean, some people like simulations of flying airplanes or, you know, other things.
Games developer.
But this is just
fucking
making
simulator.
a room. Like, where do you put your monitor?
That's what the games developer simulator is.
Yeah, so you're sitting in a room. You see how many hits and likes you get.
But no,
and-
do you ever actually make YouTube stuff, or do you actually make games, or do you just?
This isn't real, is it?
It is real. It's
not-
had
it's a
48
joke.
million.
I
No,
guarantee it's a joke.
it's massive. I was going to download it for my plane flight to
Hang on,
Cuba.
let me scroll down there. Let me have a look. Sorry, I'm moving the sound. Apologies, everyone here. I need to check something out. Scroll.
PewDiePie's YouTube simulator free download. This is real.
Yeah. So instead of being a real YouTuber,
You can pay money
play
to
a
be
game.
a fake one.
Yeah.
Seeing the sound design on that.
You probably put a ton of money into it.
So we're going to be talking about all the crazy new stuff
Okay.
in 2017, new games, and also the fight of the year. Can't wait to tell you about that, actually. That's going to be hilarious.
Conor McGregor versus a giant chicken.
No.
No.
Floyd Mayweather's behind it, actually.
Oh, he's fighting Mayweather. That's not
No.
maybe not going to happen.
Do you want to hear it? Will I tell you now?
Mayweather fights a chicken.
Soulja Boy versus Chris Brown.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Wait a
Wow.
minute.
1
Is
million.
that really going to happen?
Yeah, Soulja Boy takes home 1 million and Mayweather is behind him.
Cool.
And Chris Brown's got to pull up
I'd
his
love
socks.
to see Chris Brown.
They're
going to
make a fortune off it.
Yeah, they definitely will. Yeah.
Rappers getting into the...
There's gotta be
It'll
some
last
kind
about
of,
1 minute as well.
There's got to
The
be
lads
some
will
kind of like
knackered.
Rihanna in the other corner or whatever. You know, getting her vengeance on Chris Brown when he eventually gets knocked out and she comes in and like does the people's elbow on his
Fingers
head.
crossed.
Well, I'll tell you about all that stuff next on the 24th, isn't it? We're back on the 24th.
All right, so for the
Maybe.
third time, see ya!
Yeah,
Okay,
bye.
see you later. Tragtime episode 5,
Bye.
series 2.
Just tell us who you are and why you're in Cuba.
I'm in Cuba. Okay, my name is Marisa Robinson. I'm in Cuba to study medicine. I'm in my 6th and final year. I'm from California, San Francisco.
So how much would med school be in San Francisco?
$300,000, about $250,000, easily.
So you've saved yourself.
I saved I make about $250,000 in 6 years. Yes.
So do you find it difficult? Because I know in college I would go online for all my research papers and my homework. How do you do that at your college?
I don't. You just have to study from books. I mean, that's how we did things in the past. So it's not impossible. Most things in medicine aren't new. I mean, there's new inventions and technology and whatnot. But most medicine, most diseases, illnesses are the same. They present the same. We get information from classmates, from doctors. It's basically word of mouth, just how we used to do in the past before internet and cell phones were invented.
So how does information flow? Like news, you know, if there's a club night on, how do you find out about that stuff?
I mean, a lot of it's word of mouth. I mean, we do have cell phones, so we do send messages or phone calls. But it's more old school, more personal.
So do you think that affects society differently? Are people talking more?
Definitely. People here are always outside of their houses talking. Everyone knows what's going on with everybody. It's more community-oriented, family-oriented. I love that about it.
Is there anything you miss about not having as much internet?
Yes, I mean, it's obviously convenient and easy to have everything at your fingertips, but it's not an impossible way to live, and it's not that much harder. But, I mean, convenience is always great, but it's not always necessary either.
And just with your medical skill, is there any medicine that's not coming in because of the embargo? Like, I know in Ireland we brought over diabetes medicine. Is there any medicine that's not getting in that should be?
I mean, sometimes there's things that just aren't here. We are on an island. Sometimes things just aren't around. It takes a while for them to appear. But people here are really inventive. There's always an option A, B, and C, or plan A, B, and C. So people find ways. And amazingly, they always invent other things that we don't have in these somewhat first world countries. So, it's kind of, hey, we're in this third world country, but why do we have things that they don't have in other countries? So, yeah, sometimes things are missing, but you find other ways, and then they appear. They make their own drugs here, so self-sufficient.
And do those drugs get exported then?
As far as I know, not yet. Some of them definitely should and will, especially some of the things for diabetes. Like for diabetic foot ulcers, they have a drug here that helps them cure 70% faster, which could be a dream for a patient, but maybe not for a doctor that makes money off of patients. So I kind of wonder how that's going to work. But, they've made a somewhat vaccine for lung cancer. They say they have a vaccine for HIV or something to somewhat prevent it or stall the progression of disease. So you do a lot with what they have to be a somewhat third world country. They're doing better than developed first world countries.
Yeah, and it's amazing they're offering free college to people like you and me.
Free medical school, 6 years.
Like me also.
You're in medical school?
No, I'm not in medical school. I'm an engineer.
You're an engineer.
I'm on last year. I'm working and studying as well. Telecommunication and electronics engineer.
And are you from Cuba?
Yeah, I'm from Cuba.
Oh, okay.
So
So when you graduate as an engineer, what projects will you be?
yeah, that's a problem. That's the main issue here. The salaries are too low, and I have to work as a barkeeper if I want to earn enough money to live the way I want. I can live. I can survive without working for the government, but it will be enough for having some drinks here. So.
So what would you like to do with your degree?
Well, I will have to work. I would like to work as an engineer, but here it's kind of impossible. So all my friends are looking away for getting out to maybe have some degree somewhere else outside Cuba. and then with that degree, maybe go somewhere else outside Cuba, where they get paid real money, not here. That's the problem. People are living here.
But isn't that what I don't know? Castro didn't want we call it the brain drain.
Yeah.
You educate someone for free and they leave. They don't want that.
Yeah, but if you educate someone for free and don't give it enough reward and for noise, that person will leave, looking for better opportunities maybe.
And is it difficult to leave?
Sometimes it is, mostly because of the visa and the money. Yeah, we're Cubans, we're potential immigrants anywhere, so to give you a visa, any government takes really care. It's really careful to get you a visa, so it's kind of hard to leave.
I presume you maybe have to get an engineering company in Germany to say we want him.
Probably. I want to get in Germany next year. I want to study there. Me and my girlfriend, we both want to go there because of the studies are free there. So we're all looking for a way, and then that's the way we have so far. So
I always admire anybody that does graduate school here because they have to test in to get into whatever they feel they want. They have to be kind of the top to be chosen. So it's not just like, I want to be a doctor and just kind of go for it. Here they have to test into it from high school, not from college. So they have to start early. And then anyone that wants to do graduate school, whether it's a doctor, a lawyer, engineer, they have to really love what they do because ultimately they don't get paid as much as they should for what they do. So I always admire professionals here who work hard. I can only speak more for the medical field, but they work hard. They're there every day. They show up on time. They're sweating like I am, working hard because at the end of the day, a doctor gets paid $40 to $80 a month. I'm not sure about engineers, but there has to be some love of what you do and desire because it's not for making money so much, it's for the love of what you do, right?
How much would an engineer make a month in Cuba?
a month is an average of $35. If you just graduate, it's like $12. So it's really hard to live with that. It's not impossible. You always find a way, and the government gives you that way. But it's not easy, and then I'm telling you, you cannot come to a place like this that like all the people can. You can.
People here are very resilient and resourceful, generally. Some aren't, but most of them are.
So did you have to test in exactly like the Cubans?
No, I mean I have a college degree, so that helps. But there was no exact test like for example in America we have to take the MCATs, like the medical school examination. We don't have to do that here. It's just to basically show that you have no felonies, you have no police record, and that you went to college and took these basic science courses. And then they decide if they want you or not.
So have you found that Cubans are smarter than the foreign students?
I won't say smarter than, but there's somewhere it's just like, wow, where did that come from? But that's life. That's anybody from anywhere. So, but some of the motivation and willpower they have for me fascinates me. And they're also younger. They start medical school at 18, 19 years old. Most Americans start at 22. So some of my classmates, even from other countries, are 17, 16. And I'm just like, at 16, 17 years old, I was not planning to be in medical school and be this intense. So I admire it. I admire being that focused and that disciplined at that young of an age. Another thing that's, I guess, a good and a bad thing is that, like, compared to America and a lot of other countries in the world, there's not really a drug problem here. I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist, but I've yet to see, like, a crackhead or anybody who I was like, oh, they're strung out on drugs. I've seen alcoholics, people who may be mentally insane, but that's about it. Never seen a crackhead. I feel safer here than I've ever felt in the U.S., and I live in a good neighborhood, but I know if 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning I walk down the street by myself, I feel pretty safe. Safer than I should feel, but I'm always careful.
But why is there no drug problem here?
No drug problem? It's just one of the things that they eliminated, and with it kind of being closed, you could say it's the embargo or the blockade, whatever you want. There's just not a lot of street drugs here. Not to say they don't exist, but there's just not a lot of it. It's not a big thing, and if you get caught with that stuff, even if it's marijuana, definitely marijuana and cocaine, even worse, you will go to jail. It's not a fine. It's not a this. It's not a that. It's not a quantity. You will go to jail. They don't play games with that.
But that happens in other, like, you go to jail in Thailand and it's still a problem.
I just feel like people here just, they don't feel the need. I mean, I guess rum and tobacco is enough. I don't know. I don't see that as a part of their culture. It's just maybe not a part of their culture. Maybe being somewhat cut off in some third world has just made it.
With Mexico being so close, you think...
They don't play with that here.
Nothing
The government does not allow that. I don't know how they've kept it out, but they've kept it out for the most part. Like I said, it's not that it's not here at all, but it's not a big presence. Being in medical school for 6 years, I have not seen someone strung out on drugs yet. I've seen alcoholics, seen drunks, but not someone on drugs.
In 6 years of medical studies, being a medical student, she's never once seen someone have a drug problem. Yeah. Not bad.
I haven't.
You haven't seen what?
Like a crackhead or a drug addict. I haven't seen that. I mean, there's some people that may have chronic pain. They might want an injection here and there, but it's not like what I've seen in the U.S. They've kept it out.
I've seen in Norway. I was in Norway, and I like how Norway is progressive about drug addiction. They see addiction as an illness rather than a crime. So they give methadone and things, but it's kind of ugly because in the streets in Oslo, there was like a lot of like hypodermic needles on the ground, litter, and you have junkies like walking the streets doing weird stuff. They're a little bit too lenient over there, but over here they just don't really. Never really seen that. Never seen a needle in the street. Never seen those kinds of things here. So it's kind of
free. So they promote being safe.
Yeah.
In 6 years, what are the big changes that you've seen?
Well, Cubans are now allowed to sell their houses to other Cubans. That was not a thing before. Also, Cubans can now sell their cars to other Cubans. Foreigners still can't buy houses or cars here, so they're kind of still keeping foreigners out, but Cubans can buy and sell homes and cars, which is something that was kind of unheard of before we got here. And there's some more open opportunities for small businesses. Like the place that we're at right now would not have existed 10 years ago. 20 years ago, definitely not. The American dollar used to be illegal. Like if a Cuban was caught with an American dollar in the 90s, yeah, it'd be like jail, prison time, yeah. So now those things are all sort of open, and there's
always been European tourism and tourism from China and whatnot, but there's more American tourism, and Canadians have always been coming here because it's been okay, but there's definitely more American tourism here. So things are changing. You're seeing more improvements. They're doing improvements to the streets. Just generally, you're seeing things change.